Hello friends, I'm your friend Chetan Bhola and you are watching Bhola Moto. In this video we will be discussing about this alternator, so please keep watching this video till the end. You are going to learn a lot of things about this alternator, its past, its future, everything about it. If you didn't subscribe my channel, please subscribe it right now and hit the bell icon. Since electronic infotainment system, electronic devices are the integral part of an automobile, so there comes the role of generating some electrical energy for those equipments. But since all of these equipments are direct current oriented, so that's why we need to have a direct current for them, or storage of that direct current. So that's why there comes the role of use of DC generators. Before alternator we used to use DC generators, but they are heavier, so that's why we just opt for the alternators, because they are lighter and more efficient. But when we are using DC generator, there was no rectifier, so when the rectifier come into play, we just immediately switch to the AC alternators. Now coming to how it works, so this is the N and S are the north and south field. I just draw them so as to show you the magnetic field. Let us assume there is a magnetic field right here. If a conductor passes through like this and this crosses this magnetic field, some electrons inside this conductor feel influenced by this magnetic field, and due to that they move in the conductor, and when these electrons move, they form current, and it can be stored and it can be used anywhere. So this is how the current is generated. But in automobiles, there is you can see this is the magnetic field right here. I would like to show you. You can see this is the magnetic field. These are the magnets. I draw only two poles, but there are so many of the magnets, like you can see right here. These are different magnets which are here, and this is basically a flywheel of a two-wheeler. But in cars there is a complete alternator which is separated from the flywheel. So this is the alternator which I will like to talk about. There are 5 coils that you can see. This 1 2 3 4 5. One of the coil is for the spark plug, especially for the spark plug, and all other are for the use for the running of the electrical devices inside an automobile. And this is the switch. I would like to tell you, this coil is different from these coils because this coil is having more number of turns but thinner wire. Since spark plug need high voltage, so that's why they choose thinner wire but more number of turns coil, so that because as the number of turns increase in a coil, then the voltage produced will be increased. But on the other hand, as the number of turns are less but the wire is thicker and more number of coils, the current is going to be increased on all these four coils. This is a switch which is there to send the signal to the spark plug, and whenever this switch turns on, it just produces spark in the spark plug. So how it does is, let us say this is the flywheel, and this is rotating inside it. So what is happening inside this is, like, when it is rotating and when this comes into play like with this, this sends the signal to that it reaches. So it is acting just like an indicator, which is just showing that when this is first revolution, this is second revolution, like that. And at every revolution, only when this comes into play with that switch, this produces spark in the spark plug, because spark is not required all the time inside all over the cycle. It is required only for once, and it is there for just sending the signal to the spark plug that it is your time to turn on. Now I would like to tell you about some facts. First of all, it is rotating at 2 to 3 times the speed of the camshaft. Since camshaft is rotating at the half the speed of the crankshaft, so overall it is going to rotate almost at the same speed of the crankshaft. Now coming to the other thing, most of the time the in cars the alternator are of the amperage of 50 to 70 amperes. On the other hand, semi trucks are having 140 ampere of the alternator, and on the other hand, the big buses, heavy vehicles, are having the alternator of about 300 amperes. This amperage changes because in small cars there are less number of electrical appliances that are required to be run, so that's why you can use a smaller alternator. But on the other hand, on the buses there are so many of the lights, there are so many of the speakers, so many of the fans, so there is more requirement of the electricity, so that's why they use bigger alternators so as to generate more current. On the other hand, the voltage of these all of most of the alternator is 14 volts, because most of the time the battery used in any of the vehicle is of 12 volt. So that's why for the charging purpose the voltage must be more than the 12 volts. So that's why they use some alternator which is having the voltage between 12 to 14 volts, because whenever you are riding the car, the RPM of the engine is changing, and hence the RPM of the alternator will also change. So for that reason, because there will be fluctuation in the voltage, so for all the time, if, for keeping the voltage above 12 volt, they use the alternator which can produce voltage from 12 to 14 volts only. Now coming to the problems that may occur in these alternators as they grow old. First problem that most of the time occurs as they become older is that the brushes get worn out, because brushes are always in contact with the wire, and whenever they move like that, there are sometimes the sparks also generate inside it, which erode slowly the brushes, and hence the friction increase, and hence at one time the whole brushes got worn out. On the other hand, there are several wires that get broken. If I keep on moving it like this, then most probably it is going to break from here. So because of that, because as these wires because as this alternator grow older, the fatigue limit of the wires reaches, and hence the wire may break. On the other hand, there are several chances of the short circuiting, because sometimes it may happen, because if you are traveling a long distance and your alternator is keeping itself on high load, then most of the time it get very much heated up, and then if somehow you are unlucky, then you may get some short circuit on that alternator. Now I hope you got to learn a lot of things about the alternator. If you still have any doubts and any queries, you can please feel free to ask me in the comment section below. If you didn't subscribe my channel yet, please subscribe it right now. You can ask me questions on Facebook, Instagram, Quora also. I will be happy to help you. Thanks always for watching. Keep watching, keep sharing, and keep supporting, guys. Thanks a lot.